Alright, so we're able to search for posts, we're able to click on them and actually view posts, and we're able to email the seller. Now what we want to do is actually save the post to what's called a watch list, so the user can scroll over and items that they want to keep watch of or make sure they don't lose sight of, they'll be added to the watch list. So what we're going to do is create a new node in the database, and we're going to call it watch list and add them to that portion. So the hierarchy will go basically, so if we were to look at the database, I'm in the wrong one. If we were to look at the database, we're basically gonna create a new node, and it's gonna be called watch list, and then it'll go below, and then you'll have like the user ID here, and then below that there'll be a list of all the post IDs that the user has added. So essentially it'll be just saving like a post ID in here. Alright, so let's take a look at the code. So we're going to create two new methods. One's going to be for adding it to the watch list, and one's going to be for removing it from the watch list. We won't be removing it in this video, but that's for later when we get to writing the code for the watch list fragment. So the first one will be add item to watch list. So add item to watch list. Oh, I hit a P. There we go. So log D, adding item to watch list. And actually, before I should do that, I should create the database node in the strings file. So let's go to the strings file, and we're going to add a new node. So node watch list. Just do watch list, and that way that's out of the way, so we don't have to come back and do that later. And alright, so let's do database reference equals Firebase Database get instance get reference. You should be getting very good at this since we do it so often. So get string r.string dot should be database node db, or it's node watch list, okay. And then child, and then we want the user's ID, so get instance get current user, get UID, and then we want to reference the post ID. And then we're going to do child again, get string r.string dot field, should be field post ID, so we need to add that to the strings file also, and then set value to the post ID. And that's what we're going to insert into the database. So do toast, get activity, and added to watch list. Okay, into the strings file. And we'll do field user ID. I can't believe I haven't added that yet. User ID. Oh, I guess it's because we're querying the ElasticSearch server. We're not really querying the database much. Probably why. Field post ID. Did I say user ID? Oh, I did. Oh, well, we need a user ID one too, I guess. Field post ID. Post ID. Okay, there we go. So now, actually that's all we need to do. So now create another method. So I'm just going to copy this one because it's going to be very similar. So it's remove item from watch list. And so it's going to be identical. But what are we going to do? We can just do remove value right here. So we reference the post ID and then we remove it. And so this removing item from watch list, and change that to removed from remove from watch list. I think we're good. Okay, so I want to just kind of explain how we're going to be doing this. So if we take we'll take a look at the test application. So I have the test application open here. So in search fragment, when I click on this, it opens up view post fragment, right? But it also, if I go over to the watch list and I click on a post, it's also opening view post fragment. It's reusing the same fragment class, but what's happening is a few things are changed. So as you can see, this text says remove post, but if you look in search, it says save post. So that text is changed. That's pretty much the only thing. Otherwise, it's identical. So the only difference is when we click on this widget right here, if we're in the watch list, it's going to remove it from the watch list. But if we're in search and we click this, it's going to add it to the watch list. So we just need to write logic for both of those situations. So we're going to do something very similar. Actually, we are going to do the exact same thing as what we did in post list adapter, where we got the fragment and then we differentiated them based on their IDs. So I'm going to copy this code right here. So all this stuff where we get the fragment and then the two if statements where we have fragment 0 and fragment 1, and we're going to paste that into our init method right here. So it's going to be exactly the same. We got to change the context to say get activity, get activity, get activity, get activity, get activity, and this stuff, what's inside the if statements will be different, but that's the only thing. Change this to get activity. Whoops. Get activity. Okay, but the process is the same. We check the fragment's null. Obviously it's not because we're in it. And then if it's not, we have two situations, either fragment 0 or fragment 1, and both are going to be handled a little differently. So the case when we're inside of fragment 1, we have our save post situation. So basically we're going to be adding it to the watch list. So we can do save post dot set on click listener, new on click listener, and we can do actually I don't even need to log it, just say add item to watch list, and then we can also do m watch list set on click listener, new on click listener, and we're also going to do add item to watch list. But then for the situation down here, if we're coming from the watch list, then we can do m save post. We want to change the text to say remove post, right? Because we're not adding it anymore. We now need to remove it, and then we say m save post set on click listener, new on click listener. Then we can say remove from watch list, and then we want to, since we've removed it from the watch list, now we also want to close the post. So we do get activity, get support fragment manager, and then pop the backstack. That's it. And then so we're doing the exact same thing with watch list. So I'm just going to copy that, put that there, and the exact same thing. So that will handle both of those different situations, whether we're coming from the watch list fragment or whether we're coming from the post or search fragment. So obviously we haven't even set up the watch list fragment yet, but just kind of getting ready for it because that's what we're going to be doing. So let's test this and see if we are successfully adding it to our watch list. Alright, so I have the Firebase database in the background. I'm just going to do a general search for everything. Maybe I want to add this truck, so now I'm going to click save post up here, say added to watch list. Notice we have a new node created down here called watch list, and if I click it, that should be my user ID, and then there's the ID of the post, and then there's also the ID of the post. So everything is working as we expect at this point. So I think we're finally done with everything inside of search fragment. In the next one we can start working on watch list. So we'll query the database and get all of the posts that the user has saved to their watch list. So I'll see you in that next video.